Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'll get started with a quick introduction to let everybody else join slowly. So welcome everyone to this session. This is the 8th episode, I think, of our Lunch and Learn series. Those series are organized by La French Tech Indonesia. So for those of you who don't know us, La French Tech is a non-profit organization that gathers over 60 communities in more than 50 countries all around the world. So it's a French initiated organization, but our mission is really to build an inclusive community in order, of course, to foster the French tech footprint in the region, but also to contribute to building a strong tech startup ecosystem in Indonesia. Okay, good. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so I was mentioning, so yes, our mission as the French Tech Indonesia is really to build an inclusive community with a prior or objective, of course, to foster the French entrepreneur footprint in the region. But also the idea is to contribute to building a strong tech startup ecosystem in Indonesia. And so for this, we run a number of initiatives to engage and connect the community together. So we have, for instance, monthly networking events in Jakarta and Bali. We have podcasts. We have an annual summit as well. The next one is scheduled for the 10th of October. It will be in Jakarta, so stay tuned. And of course, many more initiatives happening. So if you're interested in joining us, just go to frenchtech.id and you can join us from there. You can join our WhatsApp and see all our different initiatives. So now, without further ado, let's get to what brings us here today. Welcome, Kévin, to our 8th episode, season 2 of our Lunch and Learn series.
Thank you.
So I will just give you a little introduction about you before I get you started. So to tell a little bit about Kévin. So Kévin lives in Bali. He's been here for 6 years. He's been in the coaching arena for over 5 years. He coaches CEOs of somehow established companies, at least 5 to 10 years of experience. And his mission is really to bring them from good to great by challenging their thinking and really helping them, overcome some threshold that they haven't necessarily seen. He's been working with CEOs of various industries, from deep tech companies to tourism, in social impact, even retail. He even coached, I like the anecdote, so an athlete coach, a creative director in space observation, and also a national niece. Nice job. Kévin, I will now let you speak and tell us all about coaching. So over to you, and we'll keep some time for questions afterwards. Everyone, feel free to send your questions in the comments. Otherwise, we will have time at the end for all this. Thank you. Over to you, Kévin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. So I'm here to talk about coaching, and I will do it in a way that is probably not the most usual, because I will keep only 5 minutes for my presentation, and then we will jump into coaching in action. So we'll take the opportunity to do live coaching with one of you, so that it's better to understand it this way. To say what bring me to coaching, I was working in human resources before, and I work in France, in Toulouse and Paris for the French one, and I work in HR for a couple of years. And I was not really satisfied with the HR part, because there were too much resource in HR and not enough human. And I really wanted to reconnect to the human part. And so that's how I got into coaching. 6 to 7 years ago, I retrained as a coach and as a professional coach. And I started my business from that moment. And there is a lot of misconception around coaching and the coaching world, and especially in Indonesia and Bali, where you see a lot of life coaches who promise you to go to 6 or 7 figure in 6 months or I don't know what. And it seems that the coaches, they have it all figured out. And it's not the case, because being a coach means nothing. Coaching is a skill. And it's the skill of asking and listening. And that's all. It's not a superpower. It's not because I'm a coach, then I'm better than anyone else, or I'm a superman or a superhero, something like that. I've developed over years the skill of asking and listening. So when I show up in session with clients, sometimes I will use the skill of coaching, and sometimes I will use another skill. It can be the skill of mentoring, the skill of consulting, the skill of storytelling, for example. And when it's required, when it's essential, I will use the coaching skill. So in order to understand what coaching is, I also want to say what it is not. And there are like 3 main categories that are usually mixed together, which are coaching, consulting, and mentoring. So I want to explain what's the difference, so that you will be able to understand what coaching is. We tend to think that coaches are mentors, in the sense that when you work with a mentor, you work with somewhere who've been there, they've done that. Basically, they have walked the pathway that you're walking on right now a couple of years ago. And so when you work with a mentor, you're working with someone who have experienced what you're experiencing right now. And so it's a mentor is someone who will be able to give you advice, to give you strategies, etc., based on what they experience, and see how you can copy past that and adjust that to your own ability, to your own personality, to your own experience. When you work with a consultant, you work with someone who has a strategy to get you from A to B or A to Z, depending on how you want to see it. So it's not necessarily someone who have experience in your field or in your position, and yet they have a strategy, they have something that you can follow that will make you create result. For example, with Han, who is a consultant, she can have strategies to help you hire people in a better way. It doesn't necessarily mean that she has hired people in the past. I assume that yes, but it's not required, because there are strategies that work, and it doesn't matter if you've used them personally as a human in the past. So that's another difference. And when it comes to coaching, coaching is the skill that will allow you to go beyond your own thinking. So a coach is not here to give a strategy. A coach is not here to tell you what to do. And if ever you've worked with a coach and a coach told you what to do or gave you advices, then the coach was not using the skill of coaching. Because as a coach, you're not allowed to tell someone what to do. It's kind of like a forbidden rule of coaching. And so people think that a coach is someone who is great at giving advice, at giving strategies, etc., and not at all. A coach is someone who is great at asking and listening. So how do we coach, basically? How can you be in conversation with someone and you're not allowed to tell them what to do? You're not allowed to give them advice. You're not allowed to influence a specific direction toward a specific result. Like, what do you do in that case when you're in conversation with that person? And that's where asking and listening bring its magic. And that's a demonstration that I will do with you in a few minutes. And so the way I see coaching is that there are three levels, three easy levels. The first level of coaching, it's when you somehow give advice and strategies, even if you're not allowed to. Because it's not that it's a bad thing, it's just that it's not coaching. And sometimes it can be useful. So to give you an example, you have an employee who is struggling, he has a conflict with another employee, and they come to you and they tell you about the conflict. And so here in this situation, a question that you can ask is, okay, tell me more, describe to me the situation. And you can say something like, did you think of doing XYZ? So that's a question you're asking, but you're asking toward a specific direction. You're kind of like influencing their thinking. Did you think of doing this, or did you think of doing that? So in that way, you kind of become the problem solver, because you give them a possible solution to their problem. So that will be the first level of coaching. And it's something that usually happens in corporation, in companies. It's this first level of coaching. The second level of coaching will go toward questions that allow the person in front of you to be creative and to make their own decision and to come up with their own solution. As an example, in case you have a conflict between two employees and there is one employee that comes to you, instead of saying, did you think of doing XYZ? The question that you will ask is, what can you think of that will help you solve the solution, or that will help you solve the problem? So it really allows the person in front of you to be with themselves and to reflect without you trying to solve the problem. And the difference between this first level and second level of coaching is that in the first level, you are the problem solver. So you take responsibility for the solution. On the second level, you don't give away any solution. You're here to explore with the person in front of you. So you're not responsible. And that's a way to empower the person in front of you. And as a team leader, a manager, a CEO, an executive, that's something that you want to do. You want your people to feel empowered. And in that setting, in that environment, coaching becomes a really useful skill because it allows you to empower people. Because you're not here to tell them what to do. You're not here to micromanage them. You're here to give them space to think, space to be creative. And over a long period of time, when I say a long period of time, it's a few weeks, a few months, a few years, that really make a difference in the way people show up. And there is another level, which is the third level of coaching. I'm not going to mention that right now because it's something that really happened in one-on-one sessions, and it's a higher level of mastery, and you cannot get to that third level if you haven't been through level 1 and level 2. But it's really when you look inward with the person, when you help the person realize that the problem doesn't exist. It's made up. It's in their mind. And so you will ask them realize that there is no problem. But that's not the topic for today. We will stay on level 1 and level 2. So in order to make you understand that better, I would love to practice level 1 or level 2 with someone, because I can talk for another 10-15 minutes about coaching. But if you really want to understand what coaching is, it's like if you go to restaurants with you have a gourmet chef and excellent meal, and you have the chef in front of you, and you ask them like, how can you describe me that meal? how does it taste like? And the chef can talk for like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour about the meal. There is nothing that will experience, there's nothing that will make a difference bigger than you taking your fork, your knife, cutting what's on your plate, putting that in your mouth and be like, oh, okay, I understand the flavor, I understand the taste. So that's my challenge to you. I would love someone to raise their hand or to turn off their mic and to do like 5-10 minutes practice with me. It's not about going deep or something like that. It's just a way to practice through a live example what coaching is. We would like to show up for that. We have Ola, Omri, Mohamed, Ramil, Rodolphe, Han, Okta, Reza, Frederick, Cecil, Anne.
Well, I would love to be coached with you, but I already been coached by you. So
I know that, Reza.
I really recommend it. It's a very good exercise, even without going very deep. I think it can be very, very interesting to do this exercise. I know it's difficult to do it in public, and I think that's why everybody's like silent. But it's a very good exercise. I did it, and it was really, really appreciated.
Yeah, I'm used to having people being silent, and I spend sometimes 30 minutes in silence with clients when they're processing insight. So I love being in this setting right now. It's not uncomfortable for me anymore.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to ask a question while people are checking
Please.
whether they want to give it a try or not. But I'd love to, and perhaps also that would be interesting for the rest of the group to perhaps learn some coaching techniques as well, because I mean, we understand how coaching can be useful for us, definitely, but also learning some coaching practice to be able to help others, or to as a manager, as a parent, even sometimes can be useful. And I think one of the techniques you're just using, which is silence, is a key technique to coaching. It's like creating that silent zone for people to think and to actually force people to say something, even if that's not the right thing. Any other techniques that you think could be useful to share with a group?
Well, there is also self-coaching. So self-coaching is having the courage and vulnerability to ask yourself questions that you usually avoid. Because when I coach people and when I coach CEOs, the question that I ask, they're pretty basic. There is no extraordinary questions. But the question that I ask is either a question that we don't think of, because we all live in our imagination and mind. So we all live in that limit. And that's why I have a coach too, because I have someone who helped me go beyond my own imagination and my own thinking, and will stretch me in that way. or questions that we know we are not going to like the answer, or question we avoid because it can be painful or it can be disturbing. And those are very easy questions. So as a tool right now, everyone can ask themselves, why am I not showing up? That's a great question. That's a great question, because there is no right or wrong answer. There is no judgment. There is no good or bad way to do something right now. It's like, it's perfectly okay to not wanting to do this with me right now. And it's not something bad, but it means something about us as a person. So in that, there is a great question for everyone. It's that, why I don't want to do that? And everyone, I assume, will have different reason. But that's where self-inquiry starts. It's with this kind of question that are uncomfortable. So it's a question that we can ask ourselves. And so that's a question that I can ask others at the same time. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's like I give you a question that you can ask yourself. As I'm used to say to potential clients and clients, I'm the guy that you will love hating. Because being in conversation with me is uncomfortable. And it's through the uncomfort that we grow. Yes, Reza?
Uncomfortable but fruitful.
Mm-hmm. How is it fruitful for you?
Yeah, when I came to you and we had our discussion, I came with the issue that I have, and very fast with your questions, with your technique, and with your listening, and with your silences. And those silences allow sometimes to just reflect on yourself and understand, ask yourself the right questions, actually. So I remember you used to ask me some questions, and then I didn't have the answer right away, and you would just not move on. You would just stay there in the silence until I had the conversation with myself, and the answer would come out, because it was an evident answer, but it was not an easy answer. So that was really appreciable, and I had some coaching previously, and none of the coaches before would allow so much time in silence and just sit there and just look in the eyes of the other person and just wait until the process is done. So it's difficult, but at the end, the reward is also that much. So yeah.
Okay. And what did you leave with? Because I remember we had a 1 hour conversation together. What did you leave with at the end of the conversation?
With solutions, with options. Actually, no, I came to you with options, and I left with the most evident option that was actually in front of my eyes, but not in the options that we talk about. So it was the solution that I was actually searching for, but it was deep inside of me, and I didn't want to take it out. So I
Mhm.
didn't want to listen to that option. So the fact that we had our conversation and the question that you asked me and the way you brought it out, it was really, really interesting.
Okay.
I
Thank you,
cannot go
Hamza.
too much into detail in front of everybody. It's but yeah, it was really, really interesting, very interesting.
And it was professional, like it was about a professional question that you had at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So shall we ask one last time if somebody is willing to give it a go? Otherwise,
we can.
To questions.
Yes, 100%. Or I gave a question. It's like the question I ask is, why am I not willing to do this without any judgment? So everyone had a question from me. So if everyone wants to answer this question, and without going into a coaching conversation, but if everyone wants to give that answer, I'm happy to listen to it.